There we are. We're live. Welcome, everybody. It's 9 o'clock Central Time on a Tuesday night, which means you are in the right place if you're hearing my voice. It is time for the Get Off My Lawn podcast. Welcome, all of you. We're glad you came by. Whether or not you're catching it live, we're glad that you came by and checked us out. So, if it wasn't for you, there'd be no reason to do this. We could just have a Zoom meeting and all of us just get together and talk. So, we're glad that you're here. If you are out there watching us live, make sure you drop a comment down in the live chat section on YouTube so that we know you're here. That way we get to say hi to you and read your name off at the end of the night. If you don't want us to know you're here, I guess you don't have to comment, but we like it a lot better when people do comment so that we get to thank you for being here. Real quick, we've got a few people in our panel, and there may be more joining here in a little bit that we'll cycle through. But for now, what I have joining up is exactly who I have on the screen. So we're going to let everybody say hello. And if you guys have anything you want to mention as far as anything going on your channel or videos or whatnot, we'll give you a chance here real quick. We'll start with Calaveras 32 Special. He was the first one to join us tonight.
I appreciate the invite there, Sandhills. I'm sorry that the original plan for tonight didn't work out, but we should have fun.
Well, we'll get there.
As for my own channel, still looking for a few more participants for the next version of Pass the Mag. If those of you are listening and haven't heard of it, Sandhills here has has the version that he was in on his channel. I encourage you to go and look at it. If you're interested in participating, you can email me at calaveras32special, at gmail.com, or I have a website, calaveras32special.com, and it has a contact page on there, so you can, if that's easier, you can just drop it in there.
Now, Calaveras 32 Special is CALAVERAS number 2 SPCL at Gmail, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'll throw that out in the chat for anybody that wants to grab that email address and send Calaveras a notice there that you're down. So, all righty. Yep, I knew it. I knew we'd have at least one more showing up out in the green room. So we're gonna let you sit out in the green room, mystery guest, till we get to you. We'll let everybody else say hello here. Next up, we have Duke Liberty joining us.
Hey, man, thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it. As always, pretty amazing panel here, and excited for the show. Thank you, sir.
You betcha. Thanks for being here. All righty. And we've got This Week Unloaded Media. Rich White's in the house.
Hey, how's it going? And just for the record, the thing I never got about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Duke Liberty's avatar there. What kid wouldn't win a squirt gun in a shot show?
I don't know.
A cowboy
Honestly, I've always wondered who wouldn't want a squirt gun that shoots jelly, because that would be awesome.
Oh yeah,
that's not a misfit toy. That's amazing.
Yes, that is a dream come true for it.
It's perfect. All right. Well, moving right along, we've got Squibload with us.
Hi, Sandhills. Thanks for the invite. I've got all kinds of stuff going on here with the phone because of the duck.
Yeah.
So, in case I get kicked out, if it's all right with you, I'd like to plug not my channel, but somebody else's channel.
Go ahead.
All right. So there's a channel out there called Arizona Ghost Riders, and it's hosted by a guy. His handle is Santee, and he does a lot of Old West history type videos, whether it is about old Westerns, fact versus fiction, or just late 19th century history. And he's a reenactor. He, dresses the part, and he goes to different places and it works with other actors. And he's a historian in addition to doing his regular 9-to-5 job. Well, he's helping out some friends this Saturday. He's doing a live stream from a theme park in Tucson called Trail Dust Town. And at Trail Dust Town, they've got a Wild West stunt show that they do. And because of the whole COVID thing, they haven't been able to open the theme park. They haven't had any tourism. That's one of the industries that's been really hard hit by all the shutdowns and whatnot. So the stunt show is in jeopardy of being no more. So he's doing a fundraiser this Saturday by doing a live stream and he's going to have a link to PayPal and ask people if they feel so inclined, if they could donate some money to help keep the stunt show operational until they can start getting the crowds into the theme park again. And I think he's also going to have an alternate mailing address where you could send a check or something like that if you're really not into the whole digital thing. But it's going to be this Saturday on the Arizona Ghost Riders channel at 5:30 Pacific, 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 Eastern, the only time zone that matters. And I just encourage you to check it out. He'll also be rebroadcasting it as a video on his channel. If you can't catch it Saturday night and you'd like to see what the stunt show is about, this is something you can actually go to if you're traveling out west and take your family to see once the theme park reopens. So Sandhills, if you could, all right, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for putting that link out there. Appreciate that.
Never mind my typo. There's supposed to be a T in that Ghost Riders.
Yeah. Arizona, one word, Ghost Riders, and another whole word there. In case but you probably won't have any problem finding it if you type that in on YouTube search. So
it is one word. Yep. Ghost Riders is all one word, not a capital R, no space.
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're in the video games, go watch Santee's video over there on Red Dead Redemption. He goes through it and points out what's accurate and what isn't. It was
That's
a
cool.
really interesting video there too.
Very cool. All right. So that is what's going on there. And thanks for bringing that to everybody's attention, Squib.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to use your show just to do that sort of thing, and it's not something I do very often. And I appreciate you being out there to type all that in or put the link in there, because it's a little bit hard for me to be in the panel and be in the live chat on my phone. Appreciate it. Not
a problem. And that's if it hadn't been for somebody helping promote my channel and letting me in one of these live chats when they didn't really know me that well, then I wouldn't be here either. So that's kind of my way of just paying things forward rather, is to help promote. And this isn't a little channel by any means. He's only got 57 plus thousand subscribers. It's not a little channel, but being able to help provide an outlet to promote some of that stuff, and that's cool. I like it when people share that kind of stuff. So, all right, we've got one last panelist here on the screen before we bring in a couple from off the screen. So, Pat Hirsch, thanks for joining us again.
Hey, thanks for having me on tonight. Sorry things didn't pan out the way it was supposed to tonight, but we'll have a good chat as always.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you actually are a Dalek, but you are sounding very, very crackly and kind of robotic, Pat. So I don't know if it's a bad connection or if it's a microphone issue, but we may need to have you check that out.
Okay, is that any better?
Oh, that's night and day better.
Okay, gotcha. Messing with the audio processor.
Gotcha. It kind of sounded like when you've got your headphones not all the way plugged in, or a microphone not all the way plugged in, that's like one click away from the plug being all the way seated. That's kind of how you sounded there. But it's good now. Good like that.
Okay. So. All right, that's good. Hopefully everybody heard the message anyway.
Heck yeah. All right.
Yeah, that sounded like Cracker P11.
Well, not that sounded almost as bad as Crackle P11. All right. So speaking of Crackle P11, let's bring his dad in here, joining us from the capital city of Nebraska. Let's just get all these Nebraskans out of the way here in one fell swoop. So, I got to have somebody drop off. Let's see. Duke, we're going to drop you off here real quick.
You can put me in back too.
Okay. Well, we'll put Travis up there. So, what's happening, Mr. P11?
The DNA testing, it never did say definitively that I was Crackle P11's father. I think it's more of like an adopted title sort of kind of thing. So, but no, man, I'm doing good. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to make a phone call before I had to leave Hit or Miss Tuesday nights at 9:00 early. And then my phone call ran a little bit late and I was a little bit late to join in. So I'll be happy to duck out so Duke can jump back in and I'll just kind of sit in the back. And I'm just reading a shot shell reloading handbook right now. I think I'm finally going to get some shells loaded up for the first time. So I might be live streaming that, but no, check out my channel, Travis P11, and check out everybody here on the panel. They got great content on their channels, and I'm looking forward to a fun show tonight, man.
Cool. Yeah, and you know what? We're just gonna cycle people through because I've got room for 5 of you and 7 of you here with me. So we're just gonna rotate people through and try to give everybody chances to talk here. Before I go to one more person, Rich, would you put that back up on the screen for us? Look at Rich White, everybody. He's got a very cool coffee mug that he was just showing us,
which just happens to be white. There you go.
There you go. There's the Arizona Ghost Riders right there.
That is sweet.
That's pretty cool. All right, so go check that channel out and scroll up. That's upside down. There you go. Is that a sticker or is that a card?
That is a sticker.
Very
the sticker was from Santee. The mug is from Squibbler.
Okay, well, I need to get one of the stickers at least. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get one of those. All right.
I'll send you one.
Well, I'll take it. That was easy. All right. So Calaveras had said we can drop him off for a second, so I'm going to do that. And then we're going to bring in, looks like we're catching you in the middle of supper single shot. You with us there?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. What are you having there? Is that a Whataburger? What do you got there?
Oh, God, no. It's chicken.
Oh, is it? I can just see
strips.
Corner of the box there. I couldn't tell what it was.
It looks like Whataburger. I think he's lying. I think he's holding out on us because he doesn't want to share.
Oh, definitely not Whataburger.
Oh, man. All right.
Popeyes. That's what it is.
Popeyes is good, too.
That's
so.
it.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. Well, thanks for being here. Anything that you want to throw out or plug real quick while we got you here?
Oh, not too much going on. I'm picking up on business there quite a bit here now. So, I'm backing too from the house there. Boy, it was slow there for a while with all this COVID stuff going on. It just drove everybody crazy.
Yeah. So, rolling down the road safely, not getting into any issues on the highway, anything like that?
No, nothing serious so far. I mean, I got the typical everyday yo-yos that try to commit suicide by truck. So,
sure, we've got those, but I know Justin Gibbons out there in. He does a lot on the Facebook page, but we see him here sometimes on Tuesday nights. And he had said that rolling through Nashville, things got a little hot. They had to replace a mirror on the truck because somebody was chucking bricks at his rig. So
wonderful.
Yeah, it's not good, kids. People are getting affected that don't have a dog in this fight. So just let people roll down the road. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
All right.
Best thing to do.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for being here. We're going to roll through and see who we've got out in the Peanut Gallery tonight, out in the live chat there on YouTube. We had Frankie in here first. Nighthawk says it only counts if you're already drunk. And Calaveras came in third, saying second. So that tells you how they count out in California. And he's not even on the screen. He can't even unmute and give me shade right now. That's perfect.
Well, it's because second doesn't exist in the California's vocabulary.
Yeah, a second doesn't exist in a lot of people's vocabulary. That's okay.
Yep.
Who else do we have? Of course, my beautiful bride, Sandhills Sweetheart, is out there. Plus, she's back where she normally is in the producer's chair, just off the camera. She's home this week and should be for most Tuesdays following. So it's good to have her not only in the chat, but here at home again, where she can keep me out of trouble in here. Who else do we have? G23's out there. Mystic Guns. Rich is out there and in here. Fluffy 10mm Jeep guy. Schofield 63. I see you out there. Blitz. Hey, congratulations, Blitz. If I'm not mistaken, this Saturday ends his reign as a single man. So he is tying the knot this weekend if I've got my dates right. So congratulations, Blitz. Defense Dad's out there. He's not in the panel tonight because he is feeling a little under the weather. He said every year about this time of year he gets some bronchitis, but of course he's got to go get tested now to make sure it's not the coronavirus. So we're gonna pray that everything turns out the way that you're expecting it to, Defense Dad, and that you get to feeling better pretty soon. Once they find out it's not coronavirus, then they can give him bronchitis meds and he'll be on his way. Who else do we have out there? Iron Horseman is checking in from Nevada. We've got Do I see anybody else new? 402. You know, if I could talk, I could host one of these things one of these days. 402 Outdoorsman is in the house. Patriot in the Dark is here. 2 Live Moo, eating more chicken. Jay Brown, what's up, Jay Brown? Mike. Philo, New York Outcast, SS Pawns in the house. And I'm sure there's going to be more. Ghost Tactical floated his way in here. Okay, so we've got just a good old assortment of people out there in the chat. So holding it down out there. I don't know how many comments I'm going to be able to throw up onto the screen, but that's one of the advantages of being on the duck is I can throw those comments up onto the screen. So we'll see what we get as we get into these debates. Now, I know a lot of you last week heard me say that tonight was going to be one of those very, very potentially damaging to friendships or to subscriberships topics. But the thing is, I want to have a conversation where we actually sit down and have real talk. And I don't want it to be a panel full of just a whole bunch of white people sitting around talking about how racism works or doesn't work in our country, because honestly, I don't know how racism does or doesn't work. I've got way more questions than I've got opinions. Well, it's about even for me. Those of you that don't know this, I've got opinions. But I wanted to have a real conversation where people could come and actually talk about experiences that they've had, and we can maybe learn, a newer perspective for some of us who I don't have any experience with some of the things that a lot of you out there have had to deal with. But I didn't get any takers yet, and I understand right now things are maybe a little too touchy. Some people don't think we should have the conversation. I'm just going to let it sit with, or end it with this right here for now. People say that the way that we end racism is to stop talking about it and not make it a thing. Well, I understand the concept, but let me say this. When veterans come home and they're suffering from post-traumatic stress and a lot of other things, what do people say to do? Bottle it up and don't talk about it? If you had a bad experience, if you were assaulted or molested as a child, what do they tell you to do? Don't talk about it. If you were attacked or assaulted, child, grown up, whatever, what do they tell you to do? Don't talk about it. No, that's not how we get past stuff. We talk about it. We put it out in the open. We shed the light on it. We dissect it, and all of a sudden it becomes less scary, right? So I don't think that this is a topic that we should all sweep under the rug and pretend that it's not a real thing, because we know it is. So we're going to have that conversation. We're just not going to do it tonight because we don't have the people that we need to join the conversation tonight. So if that's you, or if it's somebody that you know, have them email me, sandhillsshooter@gmail.com. Make sure you get both S's in the middle, sandhillsshooter@gmail.com. And I want to know who you are. And I want to have that conversation. I want to have it live on air where people can hear it. We don't have to worry about, we can even turn comments off if that's what makes people more comfortable in the panel, and it's not going to be an argument, and nobody's going to attack anybody. But I want to have that conversation one day. So we're going to leave that open-ended. Okay. So what are we going to do tonight anyway? And I see, New York Outcast, I see you out there in the chat saying you think you might know somebody. I think you might know somebody too. And if we can get more than one somebody, that'll be a great, I think, discussion to have. So anyway, what are we going to do tonight? Well, let's talk about some of the things that as gun owners, we've all debated these things sometimes till we're blue in the face. And there's a lot of things that we're never going to resolve as a group. We're just going to have to sometimes agree to disagree. But let's just have some fun. We're going to keep it lighthearted, but we're going to be serious too in our discussions. But there's so many things that people, as gun owners and in the gun community, and those of you who are new, you're going to learn this pretty quick if you haven't already figured this out. There are people that swear by 45 ACP. There are people that swear by 9mm, and everything in between. Then you've always got the guy off in the corner saying 40 S&W, and nobody cares about you. Shut up.
Ooh.
Oh
No, I'm kidding. Shots fired.
Nobody ever said I want to stand in front of a 40+ P.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding about that part. But that's
See?
the kind of thing we're gonna do tonight. We're
Yep.
gonna throw out some of these different things, and here's what I want to do is I'm gonna start one, and I'm just gonna go around the horn and give each of you a chance to talk and say, just kind of your thoughts about whatever the debate is at hand, and maybe you feel strongly on one side or the other. Maybe you see both sides. You can tell your perspective, and then once we do that, I'm going to whoever ends is going to get a chance to throw out their own debate. We'll go around the horn and discuss those, and we'll just kind of keep going around and around and around with the debates. We'll see how many of these topics we get to tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to throw this one out here to begin with. Revolver versus auto. Now, this can be whatever. It can be your own personal preference. Maybe you just like revolvers better. It could be for concealed carry or defense. It could be for home defense. It could be for whatever. Maybe you're going to be like, well, for this instance, I want revolver. For this instance, I want auto. But I'll just kick mine off because right now what I own are autos, but there's a ton of revolvers on the list of guns that I'm going to buy one day. They both have their merits. So for me, it's not a clear-cut winner, and I know I sound like I'm riding the fence on this, but it kind of depends on what we're talking about. If it's a carry gun, I carry autos instead of a revolver just because I've got in my carry gun, if it's a shield, I've got 2 extra rounds plus 8 more in my pocket, easy, faster to reload. If it's the Glock, I've got, let's see, there's 15 in there, so 9 extra rounds and 15 more in my pocket. So there is an advantage there as far as, if I'm not very good at hitting my target, at least I've got more chances with my auto. But there are things that can go wrong. Plus, if it's jammed up against somebody in a scuffle, the revolver goes off, whereas the auto might not. So it's not always the best thing, but that's why I have what I have. So let's go over to Rich. What do you think? Revolver, auto, both, neither, flintlock? What do you think?
I own both, but I don't own a flintlock. But I do have revolvers and I do have semi-autos. I have more semi-autos than I do revolvers, but it depends on what I'm carrying it for. If I'm going hunting, it's going to be my Smith & Wesson 627 and 357 Magnum. Gives me 8 rounds of 357, and a 357 Magnum pistol will drop a deer. I've done it, so I mean it is effective in that instance. But if I'm just going to Walmart, more than likely I'm going to have my SIG 365 on my hip because that's what I've been carrying lately, as far as inside the waistband. But I've also been carrying my CZP-10C, which I have the extended magazines. I can get 18 plus 1 in that one. So it depends on what I feel like carrying that day when it comes to whether I grab the small inside the waistband or I grab the outside the waistband carry gun.
Alrighty. Well, let's go over to Pat and see what you think. I'm just going to kind of cycle through some of these comments too. We don't always have to talk about the comments, but I'm going to throw some of these up on the screen because they're good. So, Pat, it's over to you.
I like both. It just depends on the situation. If I'm hunting or if I'm in the truck around the farm and stuff, it's definitely the revolver, the 357, model 681 Smith & Wesson. But as far as carry, it's got to be my auto just because I've got the extra mags, easier to conceal. It's not as heavy, and I'm a pretty skinny guy, so you'd definitely be able to tell if I was carrying that revolver versus my auto for sure. So, yeah, they both have their advantages and disadvantages. But if I'm around the farm, it's a 681. If it's out and about, concealed carry, it's gotta be my auto.
All right, cool. All righty. So let's go down to Squib. Revolver, auto, mix.
I like them both. I mean, I'll say this. If all you've shot are semi-autos, you haven't shot any revolvers, try one. There's some people out there, I don't like revolvers. That's old-timey, gun. Okay. I'm not saying you got to buy one. I'm not saying you got to like them. But give them a try. Just see what it's like. Now, different revolvers shoot different ways, too. You might handle one revolver and it's the recoil's manageable, and it's got a comfortable grip, and the sights are good. Then you get another one, and you think it's going to be the same thing, and it's snappy, and the sights suck, and just like a semi-auto. There are plenty of semi-autos that have the same kind of, effect. You shoot one and like, man, I love this. You get another one, oh, I'm going to love this too, and it sucks. But I think if you're new to guns and you're just thinking, oh, who wants an old-timey real gun, give it a try. You don't have to like it, but it's good to, if you want to be a gun guy, gun gal, gun person, it's good to kind of take every opportunity you can to learn as much as you can about all the different kinds of guns, even if you don't own them, even if you don't like them. The guys that are confused and like 40, there are revolvers chambered in 40. Just saying.
True. It's true. There are even revolvers chambered in 40 long, and you can go bear hunting with them. That's a 10 millimeter for those of you that don't know what 40 long is. No, that's a very good point, Squib. And one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard. Well, okay, so a lot of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard. I can't talk tonight. You guys want to take this over? They come from Clint Smith up in Thunder Ranch, and one of the things that he said, he was talking about customizing a gun. Putting fancy sights and all this extra stuff and making it not stock anymore. But it kind of pertains to just anything in general. He's like, what makes you think you're always going to be fighting with your gun? You need to know, number one, how to run the stock version and run a gun that is stock. Number two, if there's a chance that you're going to be getting into some sort of bad situation, you probably you owe it to yourself to learn how to run more than just your gun. If all you have is an auto, you probably should learn how to load a revolver and work that as well. If all you have is revolvers, you should probably learn how to at least load up an auto and cycle the slide and that kind of stuff, because you never know what you're going to end up with that's not yours, but it still could save your life. So
I've told this story before, and I'll tell it again. Back when Michigan used to have a safety inspection, they've got a handgun registration here in Michigan, and you used to have to go down to the police department, get the paperwork. You filled it out, and you had 2 weeks. It was more or less a permit to buy that lasted 2 weeks. When you purchased, you came back to the police department with the paperwork, with the gun. They did a safety inspection while you took the paperwork in the back, and they filed everything. The one time I brought in a reproduction Colt Lightning, which is like a single action arm, except it's actually double action. But otherwise, it looks the same. It functions the same, everything else. So this cop is trying to do a safety inspection on this gun, and he's twisting it and struggling with it. He's doing everything he can, and I'm like, officer, it's got a loading gate. And he says, what's a loading gate? And I'm trying not to touch the gun because how cops are. They don't try to handle a gun when they're handling it. Right, but I'm trying to point at it and say, just flip that, sir. He figures out how to open the loading gate, and he spins a cylinder to be able to see each of the chambers are empty. Now, you would expect that he would at least know that, but you just never know.
We've talked about this before.
Maybe you've got to clear a gun just to make it safe. At least know how to clear it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where don't assume that because somebody is law enforcement or military that they're a gun person, because there are a ton of people who aren't gun people who are in the military or who are in law enforcement. So that's just they carry one because it's part of the job, but they don't touch one other than when they're on duty. So all right, let's keep going around here. We'll move over to Travis. Revolver, auto, what do you think?
Definitely auto and semi-auto, and auto. The way that
Glock 18.
Pretty much, yeah. I've changed my carry mentality since moving to a bigger city now, and just with the whole riot possibility and the mob mentality. I've actually gone back, and it's a pain in the ass to dress around this. Sorry, my language. It's a pain in the butt to have to dress around this because it's a full size my G17, and I've got one mag. I do have an extra mag pouch, but I do inside the way and carry that, which I always have to have an overshirt over it. But before, I was just carrying my Ruger EC9S with the stock mag, and then the 2 extended mags that have like 8 or 9 rounds in them. So I've got about 27 rounds with that if I carry 3 mags. But just the higher capacity because of having situations where you might have to fight yourself out of a mob. You never know if your car is going to get stormed. So for me, that's what it's been to. I love revolvers. They're a lot of fun. I don't shoot them very well, but I enjoy them. The GP 100 is one of my favorites in 357, but definitely semi-auto just for capacity. And the only reason, and like I said, the only reason why it's changed now is just because of the riot situations, going into a group of people, and maybe having to get myself out. That's the only reason why. So.
Very cool. All righty. So let's move over to single shot and get your take, and then we'll bring Calaveras back in after that.
All right. Well, it's either one that you can handle the best. That's the way that I look at it. And if I do hunt, so if I've got that in mind, and I've got my 44 mag on my hip, and if I'm just out and about, just concealed carry, then I like my 40. I've got to get a decent holster for that thing. But I don't know. I prefer both of them. But it's like I said, if you could shoot a revolver fine, and you like it, then carry a revolver. The same way with an auto. But the thing is just to get to know the piece and know what you can do with it. Practice, and go from that point. New shooters, they get out there, they'll buy a large frame revolver or a large frame semi-auto, and come to find out they can't handle it because it's too big for the hands. Well, go to a gun shop and try them out. And if you're like some, they prefer autos, try a revolver, or vice versa. It's just a matter of getting into the groove of where you want to be, and get something that you're comfortable with and practice with it.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, I put this post up, I think it was yesterday, on the Facebook page, talking about just that very thing. Don't assume that because somebody's new or because their hands are small that they need a small gun. There's no such thing as a small gun that's easy to shoot. You can get small or you can get easy to shoot, but there is no Goldilocks gun that is, perfect for both. So if you go to the gun store and you can, handle a bunch of guns and manipulate them is one thing. But if you've got a range close by with rentals, I always recommend going and renting different models, and not only different actions, but even, specific models that you may be thinking about buying. If you can rent it, it's worth that extra money to try it before you buy it, because there have been guns that I've thought, hey, this would be great. And then I shoot it and I'm like, hey, this is not great. I'm glad I didn't buy it, or vice versa. But that's how I know for sure now that I do want a P365 from SIG, because I did get to shoot one, and it's everything I thought it was supposed to be. Not everything and more, but it's literally everything that I expected out of it. And so it confirmed all my expectations, and I'm going to get one day. It's just not, I don't need it. My 2 carry guns that I've got are good enough for now, and there's no reason to go get that right now. And until I get a need or extra money, it's not going to happen, but it'll happen one day. So, all right, we're going to drop Rich out into the lobby and put Calaveras in here instead, and give you a chance to sound off on this topic. And then also we're going to let you start the next go round, Calaveras. So revolver, auto, what do you think?
I'm going to echo what a lot of other people have been saying. I like both. I only own at this point autos, simply because I only own 2 handguns. I've got plenty of revolvers on the list that I want. But as for the comment of small versus easy, perfect example, I had an opportunity to rent a can't think of what it was anymore, the exact brand, make and model anymore, but it was a 357 snub nose Scandium, and it hurt my hand more than the 4-inch 44 mag that I was shooting, just before that. When it comes to the big bore, if you're wanting every last ounce of oomph, seems the revolver's probably going to give you that, versus the your autos may not give you as much punch per round, but it'll give you more rounds. So it really depends on what you need it for. So yeah, I guess that's it for that particular topic from me. As for the next debate, next debate, heck, let's just go. Rather than just steal all the ones from the email you sent out to everyone earlier, I'll come up with my own. Shooting rifles beyond rifles beyond 300 yards, bolt versus semi. That's right. I'm a bolt action when it comes to that kind of stuff myself. Simply because it doesn't have any mechanism to move to chance it throwing a shot or of how should I say, with not having any moving parts on it until after the round leaves the barrel, it's gonna in my mind it's gonna be inherently more precise.
Now, before I sound off, let me clarify. Are you meaning just in general? Are you talking about precision shooting or hunting, or probably not going to be a home defense shot that you're going to take at 300 yards or more, but or are you just meaning just whatever, all of it together in the bucket, anything over 300 yards?
More on the I guess on the precision, where whether it's a hunting shot and you're having to try to take an animal at a longer distance, or if you're having to your window of available, say shooting past obstructions of one kind or another. I think the inherent precision of the bolt action over the semi, for if you need that every last ounce of precision, whether that be for long range competition, or if you're hunting in an area where the animal's standing half hidden behind something, and you instead of it being an 8-inch target, now you're looking at a 4-inch target because of potential obstructions.
Sure. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to start off saying I have seen some hella accurate M1As out there. I've seen some M1As that are, ringing steel at 1,000 yards, in the hands of somebody that knows what they're doing. And that was shooting hand loads, but I know it's possible. But I'm going to go with what Calavera said. Overall, there are exceptions to every rule, but I think that the bolt actions, you can lock them up tighter, and repeatability is the key to accuracy, right? And so I think that you can get the best accuracy out of a bolt action platform. That's not to say that you can't find an auto that'll do it, but overall, if we sampled 1,000 bolts and 1,000 autos, I think that we'd find the bolts would probably edge it out. But again, that's not saying that every time I say that, there's always somebody out in the comments that says, I've got this, or my buddy or my granddad had, this M1 that we could hit, 8-inch targets at 500 yards with iron sights all day long. Cool. I'm happy for you. But as a rule, if I'm going to take that shot, I want to bolt action myself too. So, all right, let's keep going. Let's go over to Pat. What do you think? 300 yards and out, do you prefer auto or bolt?
Just being a hunter and having to take some of those shots on coyotes at long distances, I've got to go with the bolt. Like I said, there's semi-autos that'll do it, but as far as repeatability and just that absolute precision, I got to go with the bolt.
Okay,
just got to go.
All righty, nope, that's all right. So, okay, let's jump over to Squib. What do you think, sir?
I think I can't get to the mute button fast enough.
That's okay. I should have given you more warning.
Nah, that's all good. Actually, up front where I can, you don't have to hear the machines.
Oh, cool.
So,
you just muted yourself there, Squib.
Nice.
And you turned on your camera. Just so you know.
Okay, yeah. See, StreamYard. Okay, whatever. So,
Doggone dog.
Gun tube chamber, man. Gun tube chamber. Yeah. So my answer to that question is, if you know how to shoot a gun, it shouldn't make a difference.
Okay. Alrighty. Very diplomatic. Let's drop down here. Travis, what are your experiences? You've been doing some work lately with some cool autos I've been seeing, but I know that you've got some bolt actions that are near and dear to your heart too. So I'm kind of curious to get your take here.
Any shooting I've ever done on the channel past 300 yards has been a bolt gun, whether it was the Ruger Precision or my Ruger American Ranch, or even just like my Mossberg Patriot. Definitely bolt guns. Not that you can't have an awesome trigger in a semi-auto. And there are some fantastic aftermarket triggers out there, but some of the triggers, you can just have a perfectly tuned trigger on your bolt gun. And not to mention just the budget wise, I mean, you can get yourself a fairly inexpensive .6 that you can take out, as far as you can possibly shoot it in a bolt gun, and that's kind of hard to do with the semi-auto platform, just from a price perspective. So for me, yeah, it's definitely going to be the bolt guns for the longer distances past 300.
Cool. Alrighty. Single shot. What do you think? Are you with us there?
Wait a minute. That should do it.
Yeah,
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Get that microphone down in front of my face here. Yeah, I like my dad's 780L 7 mag. That thing is an awesome rifle. It's very accurate, and it holds its own at 300 and 400 yards, no problem at all.
Sure.
That's
Is that
pretty
a 7 rem mag?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 mag, and I like my 6.5 Creedmoor that I just got too. It's a TC Compass, and so far I haven't put a whole lot of rounds to it yet, but that thing is going to be an awesome rifle when I get it finalized. As far as an auto goes, I've got a match rifle. It's a DPMS LR308, and the last time I had that out at 200 yards, I printed a 3/4 inch group. So I've got no issue with that. You just don't drag that rifle around. That thing weighs almost 14 pounds.
Holy smokes.
Oh, jeez.
So that thing is heavy. Well, it's built for the bench. That's it. You don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't take that beast out tromping around in the woods.
Yeah.
But I do like the bolts if I'm going to go out there a ways. But again, like I said, I wouldn't hesitate to pop one out with that 308 about 500 yards. I got an idea. I wouldn't have any trouble with that at all. That's a nice rifle.
Sure. Okay, so we're going to drop Pat off into the lobby and bring Rich back in here. So, Rich, what do you say?
Either.
Bolt or auto, or either?
Either. I'm with Squib and Nighthawk Kinetic out in the chat. I've seen people just decimate in competitions using a semi-auto against bolt gun. It depends on the gun and the shooter. One is not inherently more accurate than the other. It's just one can be accurized cheaper, maybe. But even then, you can still have bolt guns that cost thousands of dollars. So it's price point. I guess would be the difference. If if your money's no object, you'd be just as good with either one. You get them accurized properly.
Absolutely. My wife's brother is shooting this weekend in a competition, a bench rest competition, up in South Dakota where he lives. And I mean, I know some of those guys and these are, as far as I know, they're all bolt rifles, but these bench guns are running, the $4,000 or $5,000 is nothing to dump into a gun, and that doesn't include the optic. But also, these guys are measuring their group center to center. And if they're measuring more than 1/10 of an inch, they're mad. If it's not one, if the hole is ragged, they shoot 5 shots and you can see that they didn't all hit the same hole dead center. They're mad. So he's like, well, I don't think I'm probably going to win against some of these guys because on a bad day, they shoot better than I can on my best, but he's going to enter the competition. So I'm curious to find out from him how that goes. That's going to be cool. And hopefully he takes a few pictures while he's up there so I can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, it's crazy what some of these bench rest competitions what they get into. So, all right, Rich, since you were the last one, we're going to let you kick off with the next debate. What are you going to cover?
Oh boy. Let's do 45, 49 millimeter. Which one and why?
All right, you lead us off.
Well, this probably comes as no shock to a lot of people because I've talked about it before, but I'm going with this right here.
Okay, so you're the guy I was making fun of earlier.
Well,
Gotcha.
Pickle is too. But if
Okay.
you look at the velocity and the foot-pounds of energy on this, this isn't a round you want to laugh at.
No, well, I'm not going to stand in front of a 22 long rifle, let alone any of these that are the 9, the 40, or the 45. So,
yeah, this one's moving about the same velocity and whatnot as what a 357 SIG would be. 135 grain pill.
all right. Now, I do have a question while you're talking about that, since you've shot those. Is that something that you kind of need to know what you're doing when you're shooting in order to handle that, or is that like a beginner could I could hand that gun to a beginner and be like, yeah, you'll be fine?
Here's the funny thing about this round. This is actually a light recoiling round.
Okay.
In 40 Smith & Wesson. The recoil on this is lighter than 180 grain. That is the normal loading, or 165 grain. You know, normal loads 165, 180 grain. This actually is a little less recoil than what those rounds produce,
Gotcha.
while producing more power.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's start moving around. You know what? We're losing people here, so let's just get everybody back on the screen for now. Okay, so we're just going to keep on going. So moving on my screen, Pat, you're off to the left, so let's let you start off here. 9, 40, or 45?
You know, I've shot all three. I own 9. I really don't have a preference. I guess the only reason I went with the 9 millimeter is just because I don't know. I just like the round. It's I don't know. Just went with the 9 millimeter. I guess I'm not picky when it comes to the handgun stuff. As long as I know that whatever I'm aiming at, I can put it down. You know, that's all I care about.
All right, sounds good. All righty, let's kick over to Travis next. 9, 40, or 45, if you have your druthers. Maybe. If you can find that mute
there
button.
you go.
There you are.
One of the first handguns that I bought was actually a 40, and I do like that round. But you can get some stout plus P 9mm rounds that are going to come fairly close in performance to some of your defensive grade hollow point 40s. And I mean, I love my 45 also, but if I can get a round that's pretty comparable to 40 and have a higher capacity, I'm probably going to go with the 9mm, even though I've got nothing against 40. I think it's a great round, but you know, there's extra cost involved with the 40 when you practice with it, but there are some really stout 9mm loads out there these days that'll perform really well. So yeah. But although my favorite to shoot overall is my SR 1911 and 45, I love that gun. But yeah, preference for just overall use would probably be the 9.
And I have got, let's see, number of 45 ACP that I've pulled the trigger on would be probably somewhere around 10 to 15 rounds total in my life. So I just don't have a lot of experience with it. I owned a 40 at one point in my life before I really knew much about handguns as a rule. Didn't hate it, but the gun itself it was a Taurus PT 24/7, and it was before the Millennium.
Mm-hmm.
It was the original PT 24/7. It wasn't a bad gun, but just wasn't that great of a gun. And when the chance came that I unloaded it for some cash, and I haven't really ever kicked myself for not keeping that one. I missed the tracker, the Taurus tracker in 357. That one it's on my list of things I'm going to get another one of one day. That's a revolver, not in this debate anyway. But yeah, that's
not yet.
We'll get there. No, nope, that's cool.
Quick,
so all right, single shot. Oh,
Hold
go
on.
ahead.
That's where I have to bail out. So it's good chatting with you guys.
Okay. All right. Do you want to sound off real quick on 940 or 45 or?
Sure. Shot all three, like all three. I'm not a huge 9mm guy, just not because it's not a good round, especially with the type of ammo that is on the market now. I just have never been a big fan of it for one reason or another. Now, if I could get my hands on a Luger, then yeah, I'd shoot 9mm all day long. I wouldn't care. But yeah, I'm just a 40 guy. Just it gives me more rounds than the 45, and I just like it better than 9mm. That's just all. That's all that really is. Personal preference.
Okay. That's okay. Not a problem. All righty. Well, thanks for joining us for as long as you could, Calaveras. And again, if you're wanting to be in that third take on the Pass the Mag video, email Calaveras32spcl, it's all one word, at gmail.com, and let him know that you want to be in on that. So thanks for joining us, Calaveras. All right.
Real quick before we can move on, can I add a comment refute or about on along the lines of what Travis was saying?
Sure.
About the
Sure.
Okay, here's 135 grain 9mm. All right. Let's see if I can get that. Okay, can you see what the velocity and stuff is on that, or is it too?
Screen glare kind of pushes
Yeah,
it out
it's
there.
glaring on there. It's hard to read.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, just tell us. We'll trust you.
Okay. Well, that's bright. All right. There we go. 1015. Yeah, this box is like super shiny, and that's just like amplified. Like, whoa.
Rich is blind now.
Yeah. Okay, we're looking at 1,015 feet per second on the 135 grain 9mm. 135 grain 40 Smith & Wesson. You're looking at advertised 1325. I have seen this in a 4-inch barrel be clocked at 1,400 feet per second.
Wow.
Just to put 9mm and 40 Smith & Wesson in perspective, about because you get people saying, well, 40 is not that much more powerful than 9mm. It actually is when you have apples to apples bullet weight comparison.
Well, sure. If you have equal weight bullets, then more powder is going to throw it out there faster. That's just physics.
Yep.
So, whoops. Okay.
I just found that interesting when I found this box at the local gun shop. And this is actually what I'm carrying in my SIG right now. My carrying the 135 grain 9mm in it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, okay, we've had a few people drop out. I think everybody that's still here have I forgotten anybody? Has anybody been left out and didn't get a chance?
Can we get Duke back in here? Or is Duke Liberty around?
This is it.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he was going to come back.
Nope, he's not out in the waiting room. This is everybody that's here is on the screen. So, single shot. Did we let you talk about 940 or 45 yet?
Not yet.
Okay, you're up.
I carried all three when I was on the SO, and I like the 9 for practice. That was pretty good. I put quite a few rounds with that P85, but I moved up to Pair Ordnance P14, and it was a little bit on the heavy side to carry all the time. So I happened to run across a PT 101 in 40 S&W. I like that pistol quite a lot. That seems to be just about the right ticket for me as far as that goes. Of course, I cast my own bullets and load my own ammunition for that thing, so I've got it tailored pretty well. It's less recoil than the 45 ECP, and it's got more horsepower, knockdown power than the 9mm. Of course, I agree with a lot of you guys too. That 9mm ammunition has come a long way. So is 380. So is 380. That has come a long way with the difference in designs on the bullets and the new powders that's come out. Oh yeah, they're running pretty close in horsepower there once you get on it. But the biggest thing I look at as far as knockdown power is the weight of that bullet. One time years ago when I was first on the department, a friend of mine and I went down to Massachusetts, and this unfortunate thug decided he was going to rob a liquor store, and this guy that I was with happened being off duty, SO, SP. I'm sorry, state police, and he come out and he wheeled around with that gun. He saw arson. The unfortunate thing about that was he had a Colt Commander, 45 ACP, and he went up against him with a 38 snub nose. I think you got a good idea about who won that match.
I think I do.
The last time, last thing I see of that boy's body was his soles of his feet flying away from us. He caught him right square in the shoulder, and he blew his shoulder all to pieces with that 230 grain FMJ. But boy, it's a scary situation when you're really down to the brass tacks and you're looking at the other end the working end of another weapon. So you want that horsepower, like I say. You want to get something that you're going to be comfortable with, something that you're going to be comfortable carrying, and comfortable to operate and shoot. And like I did when I was in the military and national competitions, it was practice. You know, I put 2 weeks of range time steady every day, right out there with the 45 and the 22, both of us. And we was out there practicing all day, running against that timer. That's the way we played it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Alrighty. And yeah, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience shooting 45, but from what I understand, the recoil impulse is totally different on a 45. It's not sharp and snappy. No. Like in a 1911, it's a push, not a snap when it goes off. Right. So that's I just got to get myself a 1911 in the Lord's caliber and put some rounds down range. But 9 is so much cheaper. That's one of the reasons.
It is. That's why I say it's a good practice round. You know,
we've
very good on practice.
We've got 9mm everything except for Sandhills Sweetheart's 380 Shield EZ, and it's nice just to have interchangeability other than her carry gun. Interchangeability between Mike 2 carry guns and everything else that we've got that's not a rimfire. So that's pretty cool for now. But I mean, one day we're gonna have one of everything. That's my goal, is to have one of everything one day.
There you go. I got 2 or 3 of just about everything.
I'm gonna be the next J.M. Davis if I have my way. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this yet, but we'll get there.
Real quick on that ammo cost of 45. Oh, go ahead.
Are you the one that had the 24/7?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I've got one in 45 ACP. Nice. I like that pistol.
It wasn't a bad pistol. Like I said, I missed the tracker. 7-shot tracker more than I missed the 40, but that's just because that was a good shooting little revolver. And then they're not that expensive. You can find them under $400 if you know where to look.
Oh yeah.
New in the box still from Taurus, so they do pretty well. And like I said, it was accurate. Even with full power 357s, that gun wasn't hard to shoot. It has the 4 1/4 4-inch barrel, whatever the length is. Probably it's 4 and a fraction. I don't think it's an even 4. It's just a tad longer, but it's got factory porting on either side of the front sight. It's got 3 or 4 ports on each side. If you're shooting when the sun's starting to go down and you're getting into lower light, it does have a heck of a muzzle flash. But
I gotta do a video with that 460 Smith & Wesson for you guys one of these times,
dude. Because that is on my bucket list too.
I've got a Thompson Center Encore barrel that's a standard taper, 15-inch, no muzzle brake. That thing is brutal if you're not hanging on to it. But it does put on a nice fire show.
I have to check that out. Yeah, make that video, and then I'll help share the link to it on my Facebook page.
Yeah, there you go.
so that people get to see that. Okay, cool. So you
Go ahead,
wrapped
Travis.
us up on that one. Oh yeah, Travis, you had something to say real quick.
Oh yeah, Federal does. If your gun is rated to shoot it, Federal does make aluminum case 45, and it's really
Yes.
it's fairly inexpensive. It might be like $11.97 a box, so it's about $2 more. I actually bought a bunch of it on clearance at Walmart when they were moving it out. But yeah, if your gun's okay to fire aluminum case ammo, Federal Champion 45 runs really well through the SR 1911.
Now, one of the reasons why I've never bought aluminum case in my 9mm is because every time I priced it, which I haven't priced it since Walmart stopped carrying pistol ammo.
Yeah.
But it was the same price as brass. And
yes, at one point it was even $1 more, and it used to be $1 or $2.
Yeah.
It used to be $10.97 for a box of brass for the Federal. Then it went down to $8.97 for the brass, and then $9.97 for the aluminum. So yeah,
yep, exactly. So I never bought the aluminum case because I never needed to. Same way with any of the steel case 9. Well, I've got no steel case anything.
Oh no.
But all right, so let's let Single Shot kick off. What are we going to cover next?
All right, I got a good one for y'all.
Okay.
And this is something that I've worked with for several years. I have to use optics on my rifles because of my eyes. And I hear a lot of guys talking about these high dollar price scopes and everything else. Well, we've got one that's made right here in the United States, northern New York. And I'll tell you why I'm in favor of this type of scope, or this company's scopes. Back 8 years ago, I was burned out down in south central Georgia, and there was just about all my long guns was in the safe, fireproof safe. And I had some good ones in there, and I checked them all out afterwards. I cleaned them all up good and took them out, range tested them. Now, one of these scopes was mounted on a 300 Winchester Magnum barrel for the Encore rifle. And the other one was mounted on my DPMS LR308. I says, them things have got to go. It burnt the paint right off the side of that safe. And it got so hot in that blasted thing that it melted the plastic scope covers that you get normally with a scope when you buy one. Melted them right onto the scopes. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. So I got them things off, and the next thing was to clean them up. I got that done. I took them out there to the range. I had the 300 set up 200 yards, and I printed a 3/4 inch group on it before this all happened. So I said, well, this will be the time to test. I put that rifle on the bench, 200 yards, and I printed a 3/4 inch group at 200 yards.
Wow.
With all that heat and all that torture that rifle scope went through. Same way with the 308. Put that on the bench. Bang. 3/4 inch group, like 200 yards. They never changed POI. They've got a lifetime guarantee. And they're bicolored on the reticles. That is a center point. A lot of guys will say, "Oh, cheap." Okay, put your scope through what mine just went through here, not 8 years ago, and see if yours holds 0. I've seen a lot of them do it, and they will hold some of them, but some of them won't. The minute you pull that trigger, she goes all to pieces. These ones stayed together. I was impressed. As a matter of fact, I just bought another center point that's on top of my 6.5 Grendel AR-15. So we're going to see how that one plays out.
Okay.
Now, I like a cheap scope. And, you got your differences. Guys shooting 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards, or a mile. I'm sure it'd make quite a difference on something like that. But for what I do, 100 to 300, 400 yards, they're perfect for me. And I've always contacted them. I've always had questions about it. I called them and told them about all of this. And they says, that is fantastic. I says, yeah, you guys are putting together a decent product.
Heck
And
yeah.
I like them. I own about 6 of them now.
So what is the debate that you're wanting to bring out then? Cheap scope
Well-
versus expensive?
yeah,
Okay.
cheap against expensive.
Okay, I think I know where you're going to land here. So, anything else you want to mention on that versus the expensive, and then we'll just kind of kick that around the horn here.
Well, the different reticles. I'm kind of simpleton when it comes to the reticles. I like the 30-30 crosshair.
Okay.
Unless I'm shooting real small calibers. I got a 17. I've got a 22 Magnum, so I like a little thicker crosshair on them. But that 30-30 crosshair seems to work real well with me for my eyesight.
Okay.
So I pass it next fellow and see what we got.
All right. Well, let's just kick down and see what Rich says. Cheap optics versus expensive.
Anymore, you can get cheap optics that are as good as the higher priced ones. The past 10 years or so, the optics companies and stuff have really stepped up their game. The cheaper ones, you got Vortex, Primary Arms, you get some of the Leopold stuff. I mean, you really value price. They're not going to break the bank. They're maybe more of a mid-range, and they're not as cheap as like a Bushnell TR80 or whatever, the cheap red dot. They're more in the $250, $300, $400 range. But in that price range, you get some really good products these days. Whereas before, those wouldn't have been a very good scope in that price range. There used to be, what was it? You want to spend at least as much on your glass as you did on the rifle. Used to be the old saying in wisdom.
If not more, yeah.
Yeah. Anymore, that's not true. You can really get a good value price scope or red dot even to put on a weapon that will take a beating. So I mean, if you can't afford $1,000 Nikon scope, which Nikon's, by the way, isn't even going to be making scopes anymore. They're only going to be dealing with they're only going to be dealing with photography from now and binoculars, stuff like that. They're totally doing away with their scope line.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, but if you can't afford something like that, or one of the more expensive Leopolds, or the really expensive ones like a Zeiss out of Germany or stuff like that, if you can't afford that, you're just as good as with a Vortex. What's the Vortex? Strike Eagle, I think is what it is. I'm trying to remember these names because they all got different names.
That's like the 1-4 AR scope.
Yeah.
Strike Eagle, yeah, it's about, they can vary between $300 and $400 depending on what you get.
Yeah, I mean, you get some really good optics. Vortex, their things are all different names. That's trying to keep track of all these names. But you can get a really nice scope. We've been looking for my wife's 450 at the one at Leopold because they have one that's specifically made for a 450 Bushmaster.
Okay.
They're one of the only. They might be the only company that I've seen so far that has one specifically for 450 Bushmaster, and it gets good reviews.
Now is that like a bullet drop reticle then for that?
It's your standard crosshair, like what Single Shot was talking about. Then it has little dashes for bullet compensation.
Okay, that's what my Vortex has. It's not specifically calibrated to one round, but
yeah, this is specifically calibrated not just to one round, but one manufacturer.
Gotcha.
It's for the Hornady, which Hornady makes what's considered to be the best of the 450 that you're going to buy in a store anyway.
Okay.
Like for deer hunting and whatnot. So that's what we're going to probably be buying for her to use in it because that's what she wants to do. She wants to use it for deer hunting. And that scope is specifically calibrated for that round.
Cool.
And it costs about $275.
Alrighty. So where are you going to come down on which side of the fence in this debate? Are you going to come down on the cheap scope side or the expensive scope side?
I really don't see the point in spending as much as what people used to spend on scopes when you can get ones that are just as good with cheaper prices. Like what Single Shot was saying with the center points that he has. It doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. The glass is just as good, unless you're doing super precise shooting, like you say, not to 1,500 yards, a mile, whatever. There's no point in spending that much money anymore.
Okay. All righty. Let's kick it over to Pat and see what Pat says. Cheap scope versus expensive scope.
That's funny that Single Shot brought up a center point. Yeah, I gotta go with, if you just do your due diligence and just look around, look at reviews and stuff. You don't, for most of the stuff that I do with it, with all my guns, I don't have to have a $700-800 scope by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, just check everything out and look at reviews and everything, and you can go with a cheaper scope and still get good quality, because I've got a center point, 16 power, with green and red illuminated reticles on my short barrel Mosin that I take deer hunting. And before I put a muzzle brake on the end of that thing kicked like a mule with the 203 green pill running down range. And I can't even remember what I had on it before, but it wasn't the center point. That thing jumped around like crazy. I bought a center point, threw it on there, even without the muzzle brake. That thing held zero the whole freaking time. And
Now, I think you meant to say coyote hunting with that illuminated reticle, because unless they've changed in the last year, illuminated reticle not legal for deer in Nebraska.
No,
So-
no,
I
this is not
think illuminated reticle. It can't be night vision or infrared.
yes, no, it's
Illuminated
just,
just the crosshairs light up red. That's legal.
yes, that is
okay. Then
Yeah.
I've missed it the last couple of years, because it hasn't been that long ago that they said no
No.
illuminated reticle for deer.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
pretty
Not
sure it was.
not on a magnified optic. If it was just a non-magnified red dot, then you could get away with like on a crossbow, but not an illuminated reticle on a magnified optic. Last I knew, but I'm going to have to go double check Nebraska Game and Parks now and see. Know your state laws
Okay.
either way. So that's the moral of that story. Always check. They change those things. They change them all the time, and they don't run them past me first and get my permission to change the regulations, which is weird. You know,
right. Yeah, I wouldn't put down a cheaper scope. Just
Okay.
do due diligence and go for
All right.
it.
Now, I'm going to take my place here in the loop around the horn, and I'm going to say it really depends on what you're doing with it. If you and also depends on the the round, the rifle, all that stuff. I have shot a lot of deer with cheap scopes over the years. And my most expensive scope is a sub $400 scope. So for me, it's expensive, but for a lot of people, that's not much for a scope. But I do see the difference when you step up just a little bit. If we're talking about the $60 to $70 scope, even the $120 scope versus the $360 scope that I bought, I see a difference before the sun comes up or right after the sun goes down, because again, you can hunt deer a half hour before sun up and a half hour after sundown in Nebraska with a rifle. I noticed the most difference in low light. I've got Vortex binoculars and a Vortex scope, and that Vortex scope, the binoculars are 12 by 50. The scope is a 4 to 16 power by 42 millimeter, I think, objective lens. It still does a better job gathering light, and I've got a clearer picture through the scope, even if I do comparable magnification than my binoculars even. And I've noticed that my $170 binoculars work a lot better than the $30 ones that I used to take deer hunting every year as far as low light goes. So there is a difference a little bit. Does that mean that I'm going to sit here and say that you need to spend $1,000 on a Zeiss scope? You know what? I'd have to take one out hunting and really see if it is worth that extra, $600-700, because I can't say right now that I think it would be, but at the same time, I don't know, because I don't have any experience with high-end glass. So I do know this. I do know that once somebody figures out the first time how to make something, it doesn't take long for somebody else to duplicate it for a lot less money. So I think that's where we're starting to see a lot of these lower price point optics that have, they still work really, really well compared to some of those higher end ones. But those higher end ones, they pioneered it. They had to dump all the money into R&D. And it's kind of like, the Manhattan Project. It took a lot of smart people a long time to figure out how to make an atom bomb. Once they figured it out, it didn't take a whole lot of smarts to duplicate it after that. And, third world countries can scrape together a few of the components and they're, a piece of plutonium away from having an atom bomb. Because once the technology's out there, duplicating it's not that hard always. So I can understand where some of these companies have definitely improved their products without having to tack that extra $1,000 onto the price tag. So that makes some sense to me. But at the same time, having spent the money on, I guess, what we call a medium range or medium grade scope, I'm at least going to lean towards a medium grade over super cheap, just because I have seen the difference in low light and anti-fog and things like that. Even just the anti-fog coating on the outside of the glass. There are a few things that you get when you spend that extra $100 or $200. So I'm going to say that much. So I'm going to come squarely down on the high end of the budget side, I guess, is where I'm going to land. Somewhere in that middle ground that I'm not supposed to be in. Last but not least, we've got Travis coming up.
Yeah,
cheap
man.
glass, expensive glass.
All right. I have tested many scopes on my channel, and I've gone everywhere from probably $39 up the $39 X Aegis scope up to the $1,400 Burst Eliminator 3. You are completely right. Once you start to hit, in my opinion, that $100, $150 price point on up, and I'm thinking of my Primary Arms Classic scope that I bought, the optical clarity and the light gathering is going to be superior to the cheaper scopes that you find. And I'm going to say that because I've probably tested a dozen cheap scopes, and they're fine for 0 to 200, maybe 0 to 300 yards. You're going to start to get distortion. They're going to start to come out of focus as you really stretch out the zoom. But I'm going to say this right now. I personally am trying to make a push myself to only buy American optics, American-made optics. Because I'm trying to get away from, the Chinese-made mass production scopes where 5 or 6 companies slap their brand on it. You can get into an American-made Leupold scope for $200. They do exist. They are out there. If you got the money and you want the good glass, as I'm getting older, I'm discovering it is money well spent to get good glass. Nikon or Leupold or Trigicon. I'm just saying, I do notice the increase in the optical clarity. So for me, I'm trying to go that route and only buy American for my optics from here on out. I know it's going to be expensive. I know that's a whole different debate and a whole different topic, but I would say you will see a difference, like that Primary Arm scope and that Vortex scope that I bought. You and I bought similar models. That Vortex scope I got for like $239 or $240 or something like that, $250. That thing is leaps and bounds.
That's the same scope, I think. You just got
the Vortex Diamondback, whatever, LD or HP. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't find that scope anymore. I wish I had bought one.
No, I don't think I think they've already replaced it with a different line. We should have bought like 10 of those. But
You're
again,
right.
and they're not American made. Those are either Chinese or Philippine made scopes. So we're just being hypocrites here. But just in terms of optical clarity, yeah, you can get you'll be a $0 to $150 scope. You'll be fine. I'm not going to encourage you to buy those unless you can get an American scope at that price. But 0 to 150 will get you out to 300 yards, no problems. I'm just saying 300 because that's what I've tested mine at. And after that, you start to run into distortion issues and things like that. But yeah, just spend the money, get quality glass, do it the right way. Save up a couple extra months, put the money back, the extra 100 or 150, and get a nice upper lower price scope, And that classic line is a good one to start off with. And I'm not sponsored by Primary Arms or anything like that, but that's a nice one. But then after that, Vortex, Nikon, go up from there. So
sure. Now I will say this much too. When it comes down to buying a scope for whatever application you're buying the scope for, whatever rifle it's going on to or pistol, figure out what's in your budget. And then save up at least an extra $100 on top of that and buy the best scope you can for the money. Go test them. Most places that sell scopes have got that dummy stock that they'll snap the scope into and let you shoulder it. So you can test eye relief, clarity. I know it's not always easy inside of Cabela's or Bass Pro or Academy, wherever you are, to check low light and things like that. But you can test the zoom and the focus and all that, and see if it's easy to focus it or if it's a chore to get it focused. Test eye relief at full magnification versus, low magnification, all that. Get the one you like the best, get the best one you can afford. Figure out what you can afford and then save an extra, at least $100 and get that one. So that's my philosophy there. Squib is back with us. So when it comes to cheap glass versus expensive glass, Squib, where do you stand?
I mean, this is something I really don't have a lot of experience in, so really shouldn't say too much. I prefer to buy American. I try to buy American whenever it's practical.
Mm-hmm.
I bought my one and only scope, my Loophole, for, what was it? $250, $300 on sale, and it worked. I took it hunting and it worked. So it's all American made, as far as I know. It might have some imported glass in it, but it's American made, American assembled, American quality control. Good enough for me. I mean, I'd like to get a Trijicon ACOG, maybe one day, but I've heard people say that you need an optic that costs more than the rifle. I don't know if I can go there. An optic is an accessory. I've bought accessories that have cost almost as much as the firearm when I'm doing my collecting for milsurp, but I don't know that maybe with the exception of an ACOG, but just for regular old scope, I don't see why you would put a $1,500 scope on a $150 rifle.
No, I agree with that too. But also, I mean, it depends on the gun. If the gun is more accurate than I am, then I probably will spend a little bit more money on a scope, regardless of what the gun is. It could be a bargain gun. My 243 that I have, the Remington 788, is way more accurate than I'll ever be. So, one day I'm going to put a little bit nicer scope on that and turn that into a coyote gun. But I'm not going to shoot coyotes at anything past probably 200 yards, maybe 300 at the farthest with a 243. So it doesn't have to be super, super fancy or tons of zoom. But, then I look at, some of the long range precision guns and things like that. And, in a specific application like that, then I can see spending extra on a scope because you want that, 18 power, 24 power zoom, things like that, just so you can, get a better look at what you're shooting at the 1,000-yard mark or 1,500-yard mark or whatever it is. So, I mean, that makes sense to me too. I've never taken a 1,000-yard shot, so I've never needed a scope that can handle it.
The other thing to take into consideration too is with a lot of those, if you go Loophole or you go Vortex on up, lifetime guarantees on those scopes, and you might buy a cheap scope for $50 or $75, buy the rings mounted, take it to the range, and then it doesn't hold zero, and the return policy in the scope might be garbage. The company might not even be around anymore. You might not be able to send it back to Amazon because it's been more than 14 days. So I think the lifetime warranty really makes it worth it too. And read a lot of the one-star reviews on those scopes and find out what the problem is. If there's a bunch of people saying this thing won't hold zero and you got 50 or 60 people saying that, you might want to pass on that model. That could be a trend, especially if the upload date of that comment is fairly recent. So I'll read a lot of the 1, 2, and 3-star reviews to see exactly what people don't like about it.
Well, and that's, goes back into too, for the extra money. I mean, you get higher end components. When you're zeroing and you're, moving the reticles and turning the turrets or turning the little screw inside the turret. I mean, are the clicks very easy, both audible and tactile, easy to feel? Because sometimes, those cheaper scopes, it kind of feels a little bit like mush. And did I just turn this 4 or 6 times? It all just kind of ran together there. I couldn't tell, 4 distinct clicks or 6 distinct clicks. So that's another thing that you do get when you spend just a little bit extra. I've even noticed that on some of the red dots that I've tested is, some of those really, really super low end red dots, when you try to zero the dot and you go to turn that windage or that elevation screw, and well, it's turning, but I don't know how far I just turned it because it didn't really click it, or even something that I could feel it click. It just turned. So, if you want to really zero something in precisely, whether it's a dot or a crosshair, whatever it is, then again, I mean, I'm not saying that you got to spend $1,000, But that's where you get up into that $100 plus range. You're going to get a little bit easier zero than when you're doing the super cheap, $30 or $40 scopes.
Greedy turning knobs that don't click. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Squib, we've got you twice here. I'm going to pull the other squib out and put this squib in and see if it makes a difference. I got two of you. Okay, so we're running out of time here. Who hasn't had a chance to drop a debate in yet? We've got time for one more. I know Single Shot did, Rich did. Pat, did we get a debate from you yet?
No, and actually, I do have one.
Okay, let's hear that. We'll do one more and then we'll call it.
Okay.
I know.
We're just getting started.
Drop leg holster versus belt.
Okay.
So
as far as general use, open carry, range use, does it matter?
Doesn't matter. It just whatever your preference. If you're open carrying, or if you're at the range, or if you're out on the farm or somewhere, doesn't matter. So I'll just send her around the horn.
Okay. Well, you get to start off. So what's your thoughts first?
I don't know. I like both, but if I had to go with one, I like the drop leg.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't know, and the one that I've got has 2 pouches on the drop leg, along with the holster for the extra mags and stuff. And as skinny as I am, I don't like things riding up on my hips and stuff because, it has a tendency to pull my pants down. So if I've got that extra strap, those extra couple straps going around my legs, that really helps secure it. And it just doesn't seem like things swing around near as bad. On me, anyway.
Alrighty. So let's just go around here. We'll just keep going clockwise. So Squib, drop leg or belt mount holster?
Yes.
Okay. That was easy.
Squib approves.
Yeah, Squib approves. Just use a holster. There you go. I've never used a drop leg. Part of the reason I've never used a drop leg is because I'm not a commando, nor am I a mall ninja, so I don't have to look that cool. And anything that I've ever done, having a holster on my belt, whether it's inside or outside, has been okay. Part of that's because I've got comfortable holsters too. But as far as having to grab something that's a little bit farther down my leg, like if I'm wearing cargo pants or something like that, it's just not for me. I think I have to reach and stretch more to get something from my leg than I do from my waist. So for me, having that gun be on my waist, it's where I want it. I don't do a lot of open carry, so I don't think there's a way that you could possibly conceal a drop leg. But for what I do in my daily life, drop leg just doesn't even seem practical. So I've never spent the money on one. And that's just me. I know a lot of people that like them for a lot of different reasons, but the reason that I have no experience is because I've never really seen the need for it, or any benefit in my personal life for it. So I'm going to say belt. Travis, you'd be next.
Yeah, I do have a plate carrier and I do have body armor. If I was going to be running that, then I would definitely want the drop leg holster to clear the waist area. Okay. Especially if you're running spare mags on the sides and you need to do any kind of movement or mobility. I think that's kind of the intention of the drop leg. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't see use for it. I do hip only because it would be faster in the drop for me. But yeah, plate carrier, if I'm doing full kit, it would definitely be a drop leg.
Okay. Alrighty. Sounds good. Single shot, drop leg or belt carry?
Well, I've used both of them. EDC, I've always got an inside the waistband, but I've used outside the waistband as well. I guess that would be the most tight that I have used before. But I've got a drop leg that I used to like to shoot a little bit of competition with, and that's got the external pouches for the mags and stuff like that. I carried my 40 on that. I like that awful well, but it moves around quite a bit. So I've got a solution for it as soon as I find a heavy duty sewing machine.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I like the waist carry, belt carry, pretty much for the most part.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to Rich and see what you say. Or drop leg or belt carry.
Yeah, I have a drop leg around here somewhere. I'm not sure where right now for my KUSP and 40. I used to carry that when we lived at the other house before we moved here. Used that for walking around the property because I have long arms and it's more comfortable draw for me because of how long my arms are to go off my thigh than it is my hip. But I carry with belt holsters too now, and it doesn't bother me too much. It's just, when your arm's hanging down past your pants pocket, it's easy to grab off your thigh. So,
Sure.
in a quick draw that way, it was a quicker. It's a lot. Same reason why you see in the westerns the cowboys would have the drop down holster. They didn't actually carry them that way in the West. That was a Hollywood creation, but they did it because it was easier for them to get a fast draw in the movies.
Well, and they always started from the gunslinger crouch anyway, so that brought their hand and their thigh closer together, just in that position. But yeah, if you watch the fast draw competitions nowadays, most of them are riding a little bit higher. Of course, they're canted with a negative cant, so your muzzle's already pointed out in front of you a little bit anyway. When you clear leather, it's not that far up, but
some of those fast draw competitions don't even have a full holster anymore. They have holsters.
The one that I saw, I don't remember which. I don't remember now which organization it was, but it was on Shooting USA here a couple weeks back, and they were all pretty much full holsters. But the way that they rode on the hip, they were already canted backwards, so there wasn't to draw and clear leather and bring it up. Wasn't that big of a motion. Plus, everybody they dang near felt backwards how far back they were leaning with them too. So
different classes. I mean, if you watch, there's some it's like a skeleton holster. Like,
it's
in there. It doesn't even. There's nothing even holding it in other than a metal clip.
I was just happy to find out that it wasn't just a draw and fire. Accuracy is part of the competition with those. They do have wax bullets, and they have to hit a target. So I was happy to see that it's not just Bob Munden. How fast can you draw and fire with a blank? It's how fast can you draw and fire and hit the target.
And if you look at some of the old videos of the quick draw competitions, you had actors that would be in the westerns like James Garner, Sammy Davis Jr., John Wayne. They all competed in fast draw.
Sammy was a huge gun guy.
Oh yeah, Sammy did I think we talked about it before, where Sammy was in an episode of The Rifleman. He was doing his own twirling stunts in the episode. He was an expert.
I've never seen that one, but when I was a kid, I met Bob Munden, and he did a exhibition. It was at one of the local car dealers, so it was blanks only. But then we went inside after the show, and he had a couple tables lined out with a whole bunch of his guns, and one of them was one that it was gifted from Sammy, and it actually had Sammy's initials on the butt in gold, and that was really cool. There was a sign on that one. Some of them, if Bob or I can't think of his wife's name, but they were both there. And if they were there, you could get permission to pick them up and handle them. They didn't have a problem. But the one from Sammy had a sign on it, "Please do not touch." So I didn't get to touch that one. But
another one that
you were lucky to meet that guy.
Yeah, I know I was.
Another one that might surprise some people was Jerry Lewis. He was a big gun guy, and he competed in quick draw competitions too.
I didn't know he was a competitor. That's cool.
Very cool to find out. That was like something that they would do, especially if they were like filming a Western or something. They would see who could outdraw each other, and they would have the timer and everything, seeing who had the faster draw.
Sure. That's very cool. Alrighty. Well, we have gone back around the horn on that one, so I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night. We will let everybody just wrap things up and give any plugs. We'll start with Squib, and if you want to throw that plug back out again and talk about Santee and the Arizona Ghost Riders for the people that didn't get here early, go ahead and give that one more time if you can, Squib, for us.
Sure. Out in Tucson, Arizona, there's a theme park, an Old West theme park called Trail Dust Town. And at that theme park, they have a Wild West stunt show performed by the Pinnacle Peak Pistoleros. Because of the whole COVID thing, tourism has kind of taken a hit. And they haven't had any tourists there, any people paying to see the shows or coming into the theme park. And the Pistoleros are they're kind of in danger of being no more. So Santee is doing a live stream of one of their stunt acts on his channel on Saturday night, and he's putting a link to PayPal, and I think he's going to be putting in a mailing address as well if you don't want to do any donations electronically. And if you feel so inclined and you want to donate to try to keep the show operational until they can kind of get back up to well, where they used to be, where they're bringing in the crowds and people are coming to watch them, it would be appreciated. So the channel is Arizona Ghost Riders, 2 separate words, and it's this Saturday at 5:30 Pacific, 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central, or 8:30 Eastern, the only time zone that matters. And he'll also be putting it as a video on his channel if you want to catch it later, if you're not able to catch it this Saturday night. So it's a thing that you could take your family to see. If you were traveling out west, you were on vacation, and you wanted to kind of get a little bit of the Old West and some entertainment, Trail Dust Town has got all kinds of, it's a theme park. I mean, they've got a train, and it's set up like an old Western town, and the Pinnacle Peak Pistoleros are just a part of what is at Trail Dust Town. So you can get an idea of what you could experience if you were out that way on a family vacation. There's lots to do in the Tucson area. I mean, all of Arizona. You could spend an entire week there and not even do everything. So it's just something that I'm hoping that things like this stick around, that this whole COVID thing doesn't put good people out of work. I know some people have been affected by it, and I'm hoping. I just came back to work at the auto plant yesterday, so I'm really hopeful that more and more places start picking up and we all get back to normal. So Santee's just doing his part for his friends there to try to help bring in some funds to keep them going until the tourists can come back.
Very cool. All right, so we will leave this up on the screen just a little bit. There is the link, everybody. It's out in the chat there too, so you can click on that and go to Arizona Ghost Riders and check that out if you want to. Squib, thanks for bringing that to everybody's attention.
Thanks for
very cool. You bet. Like I said, I just like to pay it forward, and people took a chance on me and my channel, and he doesn't need me, with my little channel promoting his, but at the same time, promoting what he's doing. Let's spread the word on that and get that out. So, all right, let's just go back around counterclockwise. So we will go to Pat Hirsch. Thanks for joining us tonight, Pat.
Yeah, thanks for having me on tonight. Good discussion as always. Good group of people. I'll probably have to check out that show on Saturday night and help support him a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, Rich, thanks for being here, sir.
Yep, thanks for the invite, and I'm gonna echo Squib. Go over there and check that out. The Pinnacle Peak Pistoleros have also done things with Santee on the Ghost Riders channel. So if you want to see what they do, you can go see some of the stuff they do over there. And
okay.
Jerry, the main guy for the Pistoleros, he's always doing skits with Santee as part of the show that he puts on. He does one episode every Saturday. It takes him all week in addition to doing his job to get his episodes filmed and edited. So he does one a week. They're Saturday morning. They release Saturday mornings. Go over there and check them out. It's really cool stuff that Santee does. Like I said earlier, his review that he did of Red Dead Redemption 2 was like spot on. And he was talking about what they got right in the game as far as clothing and stuff, the weapons that they had in the game. It's really an interesting video to watch. So go over there, check out the Arizona Ghost Riders, and be sure to definitely check out their live stream this week. Help them save something that's saving a piece of history. I mean, the Pistoleros are, not only do they do the stunt show, but they also, they're preserving a part of the past. So go over there and check them out for sure. And they also have their own YouTube channel. So go over. So the Pinnacle Peak Pistoleros is also a YouTube channel, so go check that out too.
Cool.
Give them some support on their YouTube channel.
If you want to, go ahead and throw that link out in the chat if you want to there, Rich.
Yeah, I have to find it. I didn't have it ready.
That's all right. I'm going to just let you post that as you go look for it. We will move around a single shot and let you sign off for the night.
All right. Thanks for the invite, Sandy. I appreciate it. I have got a few new videos on my channel. I haven't done anything with the firearms as of late because I really haven't been home all that much. But I've got to get back out there, do some chronograph work, and I'm going to try to do a review on that center point scope that I just put on that 6.5 Grendel. But other than that, I'll just be out here roaming around on the roads, and I'd like to meet up with some of you guys here sometime. I get out into y'all's areas.
You come rolling through Nebraska. You just let us know.
Oh, you bet. I'd love to get over there to Grand Island again. I used to stop into Hornady all the time.
Oh, there you go.
$300.
Yeah.
That I miss because I used to pick up the seconds all the time.
Sure,
and I
sure.
did have the opportunity to meet Steve one day, and we had quite a chat for sure. But other than that, check out my channel and. Squib, I love that channel. He does a good job on his channel. I watch it all the time. I've got get it on my list, and when he posts one, I'll get a notification for it. So everybody be safe, take care, God bless, and pray for our country and our president. Hopefully this mess will even out, and we'll get back on keel here pretty quick.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right. Thanks for being here, Single Shot. Travis, last but certainly not least.
Yeah, man. Check out my channel, Travis P11, and we'll be hosting a Caliber Corner podcast this Saturday morning at 8 o'clock Central Time, the most important time zone in the world because it's in the center. And yeah, we just had an episode on Monday night. I was busy last Saturday, but normally it'll be Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Central Time. Otherwise, I just put a cheap plug in for my B channel, so make sure you check it out. It's called Coffee, Computers, and More. And I've kind of renamed it so it doesn't have my name in the channel anymore. But it's still good content, a lot of good stuff. It's reviews on some old retro tech and a lot of coffee reviews. And make sure you guys check out everybody on this panel, man. They all got great channels with lots of good content. So there you go.
Cool, cool. All righty. It is about that time for the list. Before I grab the list, I want to thank Gizzard Gary out in the chat for putting this comment out. I'll put it up on the screen for everybody. We do have a Patreon page as well. And the last thing that I want to do is beg you guys for money. But let me just say it like this. Patreon, if you want to help support us financially, Patreon is one of the best ways to do it because they don't take near as much of it as like a super chat. You can sign up and just do $1 a month, and you don't have to keep doing it. I mean, you can drop it, come back, whatever you want to do. But for as little as $1 a month, you too can feed a very hungry pistol here on the Sandhills Shooter channel. So I just want you guys to know that. No, we'll get that off the screen now. The real important thing is all of you out there in the live chat and those of you that were watching that didn't make any comments. We don't do this because we get paid to do it. We do it because we like connecting with everybody. If there's a week that we take a week off and don't have a live chat, we both miss you guys. We like hanging out with everybody once a week, and some of you, even though we've never seen your face and may never see your faces, we feel like we get to know you. You know, we see you week in and week out, talk to you, get to interact in the chat. It's so much better than watching a TV show because you watch TV and all you get to do is watch it. And depending on what the show is, I mean, I'm usually yelling at the screen saying, "Hey, that's not realistic," or "Hey, you're dumb," or whatever. Don't run up the stairs, go out the front door, stuff like that. But in the YouTube world, when you're watching something like this, you actually, when we're live, you get to talk to us and we get to talk back, and we get to, like I said, we get to know everybody. So that's really cool. You all are the reason that we do this. So if you weren't commenting, we don't know you were here. So please drop those comments out in the live chat. You get to do it next week if you didn't do it now. But the cool thing is, everybody that's dropping comments, Sandhills Sweetheart is keeping a list, and we get to go through and thank you. So who'd we have here tonight? Hold on. I've got to hydrate. Okay. We had Frankie's Guns and Glitter, Calaveras 32 Special, Nighthawk Medic, G23, Mystic Guns, Rich White, Fluffy 10mm Jeep Guy, Schofield 63, Defense Dad, Get to Feeling Better, Defense Dad, Blitz, congratulations again, Blitz, on your upcoming nuptials, Iron Horseman, The Poor Conservative, The 402 Outdoorsman, Patriot in the Dark. Patriot in the Dark says that optics are just a fad. I'm kind of curious, Patriot, cheap glass or expensive glass? What do you buy? Like to get your take on it. Okay. Anyway, 2 Live Moo.
I'm upset that I wasn't the one who got to say that. Oh.
Well, see, the thing is, I try to heckle Patriot, but he doesn't know me like he knows you, Squib. So I could just be coming off as I'm a jerk. But for those of you that really know me, well, you already know I am. So anyway, 2 Live Moo, Obnoxious One, SS Pawn, Jay Brown, Mike, Philo, Emily L, our new friend from knowing Party Foul Steve and the Party Foul Nation channel, Ghost Tactical, New York Outcast, Carolina EDC Reviews, Vanessa Kitty, Jacob S, Travis P11, who the heck is that? Agorizer, Tim Foley, Gizzard Gary, Ozzy Osbourne, of course, Sandhills Sweetheart was out there. I see Two Gun Kitty, the Catnip Outlaw. Again, it's a little late now to be dropping those comments because we didn't write you down and we didn't read your name. But catch us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Right here at 9 o'clock Tuesday night, we will plan on doing another fun episode of the Get Off My Lawn podcast. We had, who have we lost tonight? We've lost Duke Liberty isn't here anymore. Calaveras 32 Special isn't here anymore. And I think that's it. Everybody else is here or is back here. So on behalf of Duke and Calaveras, on behalf of Travis P11, Single Shot, Squibload, Pat Hirsch, Rich White, on behalf of Sandhills Sweetheart and myself, we love you guys. I can't say it enough. Without you, this is pointless. You really are the reason that we do this. So God bless all of you. And don't forget to get off my lawn.